in the heart of an endless forest, far from the rush of towns and the shine of cities, there lived an old man named Elias. His home was nothing more than a fragile wooden hut, built with his own hands years ago, leaning against the arms of tall trees, as though the forest itself was holding him up. The roof leaked when the rain fell too hard. The floor creaked when the wind passed through the gaps. But to Elias, it was enough. He was poor, desperately poor, and had been all his life. Yet, despite his poverty, there was a richness about him that nobody could deny. He had a heart larger than the woods around him. Every morning before the sun stretched across the sky, Elias would rise with aching bones and tired muscles. His beard had grown long and white, his skin wrinkled like dried bark, but his eyes still carried a soft fire, the kind of light that only kindness can keep alive. He would take his rusty axe, the only possession he valued, sling it over his shoulder, and walk deep into the forest to chop wood. That was how he survived. He cut fallen branches, gathered them in bundles, and carried them on his back all the way to the nearest village miles away. There, he would sell the wood for just enough coins to buy bread, sometimes a handful of rice, and if he was lucky, a little oil to keep his lamp burning at night. People in the village knew him as the old woodcutter. To most, he was just another poor soul scraping through life. But to those who ever needed a hand, Elias was something more. No matter how little he earned, no matter how empty his stomach, if someone came to him in need, he gave. If a hungry child crossed his path, Elias would hand over his bread without hesitation. If a traveler lost his way in the forest, Elias would guide him, walking miles barefoot just to make sure the stranger found safety. He never said no, not once. It wasn't that Elias had much to give. He didn't. But what he had, he shared. His poverty did not chain his soul. It freed it. He believed life was not about keeping, but about giving. And even if he remained poor until his last breath, he wanted to leave the world with a heart that had never closed its doors. The villagers often wondered how he managed to survive. "How could a man so poor keep giving away what little he has?" they whispered. Some thought he was a fool, wasting the small things that could keep him alive a little longer. Others admired him quietly, knowing they would never have the courage to be like him. But Elias never cared what anyone thought. He only cared about the forest, his work, and the people who crossed his path. On one bitterly cold morning, when frost kissed the ground and the wind cut like knives, Elias was walking back from the forest with a heavy bundle of firewood strapped to his back. His hands were trembling from the cold, his breath fogged in front of him, and his old legs threatened to give out. Along the path, he heard a faint cry. It was soft at first, almost like the sound of a bird, but as he stepped closer, the cry grew louder. Elias stopped. There, lying under a tree, was a small boy shivering violently, his clothes torn, his lips blue from the cold. Without thinking twice, Elias dropped the bundle of wood. He hurried to the child, wrapped his own thin coat around the boy, and lifted him in his arms. The child's body felt like ice, weak and fragile. Elias carried him all the way to his hut, his old heart pounding, his body straining under the weight. When he reached home, he lit the little fire he had, placed the boy near it, and gave him the only food left, half a loaf of bread. Elias went to bed hungry that night, but he didn't mind. For him, saving that child's life mattered more than filling his stomach. The boy survived. Days later, his parents came searching and found him safe with Elias. They fell to their knees, tears in their eyes, thanking the poor woodcutter who had given everything for a child he didn't know. They offered him money, but Elias gently refused. He only said, "Take care of him. That is enough." Word of his kindness spread again through the village, but Elias went back to his life as if nothing had happened. Each day was the same: work, hunger, cold nights, but also the same endless generosity. He had no gold, no silver, no family, and no riches, yet in the deepest sense, he was never poor. Elias often sat outside his hut at night, staring at the stars through the branches of the forest. Sometimes he would whisper to himself, "One day I will leave this world with nothing in my pockets but everything in my heart." And then with a smile he would close his eyes, ready to rise again at dawn, to give again, to keep being who he was, an old, poor, but endlessly giving man.